Psychology says having no friends is often a sign of how your mind works, not a flaw in who you are. This topic isn't about failure or weakness, it's about traits that don't fit neatly into typical social systems. Some brains are wired to notice more, question more, and process interactions at a deeper level. And once that clicks, past experiences begin to look very different. Like the video if this resonates, subscribe if you want more, and let's break this open. Number 1. Gradual social drift. Through accumulated small disconnects, most people don't lose friends because something went wrong. They lose them because nothing dramatic ever happened at all. For you, friendships don't explode or collapse in a single moment. They quietly thin out over time. Conversations slow down. Messages take longer to answer. Not because you don't care, but because you're thinking. Choosing words carefully, waiting until you actually have something meaningful to say. Your reactions become softer, less performative, less exaggerated. You stop mirroring excitement you don't fully feel. From the inside, it feels honest and intentional. From the outside, it looks like distance. And because there's no argument, no betrayal, no clear mistake, no one ever names what's happening, people just slowly adjust to your absence. They assume you're busy, uninterested, or moving on. Psychologically, this kind of drift is hard to detect because it doesn't register as loss until it's already complete. You only notice when you look around and realize there's no one left to reach out to. Not because you pushed people away, but because the connection quietly starved of the small signals that keep it alive. And underneath that slow fading, there's often something deeper happening in your mind that makes even simple interactions feel heavier than they look. Number 2, hypervigilant, self-monitoring, and social overanalysis. What if the reason social situations exhaust you isn't because you're awkward, but because your mind never stops watching itself? You don't just participate in conversations, you observe them from the inside at the same time. Every pause feels loaded. Every shift in tone feels meaningful. A short reply can send your thoughts spiraling for days, not out of insecurity, but out of constant interpretation. Your brain treats social interaction like a puzzle that must be solved correctly. This kind of hypervigilance develops when you're deeply attuned to social feedback. You're scanning for judgment, rejection, or misunderstanding, trying to adjust in real time. The problem is that constant monitoring creates tension. Even when you say very little, your body carries the weight of thinking too much. People can sense it. They feel the carefulness, the restraint, the distance. Over time, your quiet observation gets misread as coldness. Your silence becomes arrogance in someone else's story. Your caution looks like disinterest. And without meaning to, you start building an invisible wall, not to keep people out, but to keep yourself safe. But that wall didn't come from nowhere. It often forms because you see things in people that others don't even notice yet. Number 3, hypersocial perception and seeing through social performances. You're standing in a group, everyone's laughing, and you suddenly realize the laughter isn't about joy, but about fitting in. So why can you see that so clearly? You don't just hear words, you register intention. You notice when kindness is transactional, when stories are inflated for approval, when enthusiasm is staged rather than felt. While others stay on the surface of the interaction, your mind automatically scans underneath it. Psychology often frames this as heightened social perception, and it's a double-edged trait. Once you see the mechanics behind social behavior, it becomes almost impossible to unsee them. You stop rewarding performances that feel hollow. You don't mirror reactions you don't genuinely feel. And in a world where a lot of bonding happens through shared illusions, that honesty quietly sets you apart. The uncomfortable part is that people don't experience this as insight. They experience it as exposure. Being around you can make others feel transparent instead of admired, and most people are far more comfortable being liked than being truly seen. So they pull back, not out of dislike, but out of self-protection. And when you're repeatedly met with that withdrawal, you may start relying even more on yourself, because depending on others begins to feel unreliable. Number 4, emotional self-reliance and lack of vulnerability. Being emotionally independent is praised as strength, but socially, it can quietly isolate you. You're used to handling things on your own. When something goes wrong, you process it internally, regulate your emotions privately, and move forward without asking for much support. It looks composed, it looks mature, and on paper, it sounds healthy. But most friendships don't grow from stability alone. They grow from shared need. Connection thrives when there's an exchange of vulnerability, when people feel useful to each other, when emotional doors are left slightly open, when you rarely vent, rarely ask for help, and rarely show uncertainty, others don't know where they fit. They don't feel invited into your inner world. Over time, they begin to feel unnecessary. You're not shutting people out on purpose, you're just so self-contained that there's no obvious place for them to enter. And the irony is, you often do want closeness, but showing that need feels risky, uncomfortable, or unfamiliar. So you stay capable, steady, and alone, while another quiet gap forms between how deeply you feel and how little of it ever gets seen. Number 5, difficulty expressing emotional warmth and reciprocity. There's a kind of relief that comes when you realize you do feel deeply, even if others rarely see it. Your emotions live fully inside you, but they don't always translate outward in the ways people expect. You show care through consistency, through action, through being there when something actually matters. You fix problems, you show up, you stay reliable. And to you, that feels like love in its most honest form. The disconnect happens because many people don't measure closeness through reliability alone. They look for emotional mirroring in the moment. They want shared excitement, shared sadness, shared emotional language. When they're hurting, they're not looking for solutions yet, they're looking to be felt. And when they don't get that resonance, they assume something is missing. Timing plays a role too. You often need space to process what you feel before you can express it. By the time you've sorted it out internally, the moment has passed. The conversation has moved on. The emotional window has closed. So people walk away confused, wondering how someone so dependable can feel so distant. And you're left wondering why doing everything right still didn't create closeness, unaware that the issue isn't the depth of your feelings but the language they're expressed in. Number 6, low social conformity and resistance to group identity. Social belonging is built on sameness, and your mind was never designed to blend in. You don't instinctively mirror group behavior. You don't laugh just to smooth the moment. You don't nod along to ideas that feel hollow just to preserve harmony. Your brain values internal alignment over external approval, and that independence quietly shapes every interaction you're in. Most groups bond through shared symbols, shared opinions, shared tastes, even shared outrage. It's a shortcut to connection. But you're wired to question those shortcuts. You step back when others rush in, you observe when others merge, and while that gives you clarity and perspective, it also places you slightly outside the circle. People often respect this about you. They sense your authenticity, they trust your honesty, but that respect is earned at a distance. In moments where closeness is built through unthinking agreement, you hesitate. In moments where the group moves as one, you pause to understand why. That pause protects your integrity, but it also keeps you alone. Not because you're unlikable, but because your mind is tuned to truth over belonging. And that difference, while rare, isn't always easy for others to meet. If you've spent a long time feeling disconnected, it doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It means your mind moves through the world differently. You notice more, feel more quietly, and refuse to trade honesty for belonging, even when it costs you closeness. That kind of depth can feel lonely, but it also means your inner world is rich, deliberate, and real. If this helped put words to something you've felt for years, liking and subscribing is an easy way to stay connected here. And as you sit with this, the next conversation explores some strange, often overlooked traits that might quietly reveal just how intelligent your mind actually is.